It's one thing to help somebody, but you never want to help somebody to the detriment of losing yourself or hurting yourself.
You
And
better
people
talk.
feel like if I don't physically see blood flowing from me, that I'm not hurt. The hurt is if you lose your joy or your happiness is dampened because of a conversation that you had with somebody, you're hurting yourself.
Welcome, welcome. So this is another episode of Jarvis Hill Projected. And I told you that we're going to be having some entrepreneurs on who are leading experts in their field. And oh boy, I have a special one for you today. I have Miss Christy Moore. Let me make sure I set you up right, Miss Christy. She has a degree from Hampton University, HBCU in the house, Meharry Medical School, Tennessee State University. She's also a graduate of Goldman Sachs Small Business 10K. She's the CEO, the founder of Mansfield Funeral Home. Welcome to the show, Miss Christy.
Thank you. Great to be here.
How you doing today?
I am amazing. It's bright and early. I'm ready to get this day started and serve God's people. And I'm starting off with Jarvis Hill. So let's do it.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So before we, get down to business, I always like to say, let's get down to business. But I need my people to do me a favor. They know. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because we're going to be kicking out some good information, some good content. And so let's get down to business. Now, Christy, you're a mom and a wife. So before we even get to the business, how do you balance the household versus the business?
That's a great question. And a lot of people think that it's a very easy thing to do because myself and so many other women make it look so effortlessly. With me, I start off with meditation. Every morning, I'm awake about 4:30 in the morning. And I don't do the traditional go into a prayer closet or go into the corner and light candles and things like that. I literally lay in the bed and I set my intention for each day. And that allows me to restart the day. I don't carry any grievances, any drama, or anything that may have happened the day before. When I wake up, I set the intention to serve God's people, to serve my husband and our child, to serve my employees, to serve the families, and then to come right back home. And I already know that I'm going to come home feeling amazing about what I do every day. Even if there's some ups and downs, right. I walk into my home knowing that everything is good.
Woo, man, that was powerful. Set your intention for the day.
Yes.
Come on now. Okay. Now, you've been in the funeral service industry for what, over 21 years?
24.
Over 24 years. So
yes.
Tell me, what's the difference? Because it seems like either you chose that industry or the industry chose you. Are you passionate? Is that a gift of yours, or is it just your calling?
That's a great question. So the industry actually chose me. I believe I was born to do this. I knew when I was 9 that I was going to be in the funeral service industry in some way. I received that inspiration, and that calling was placed on my life standing over my great grandmother's grave as she was lowered into the ground. And then so I just kind of started going down that path towards being a mortician. And, from 9 until about 17, I had a very narrow, tunneled vision about what I wanted to do. And it was really my parents that helped me to refocus and recenter myself. And they taught me the value of having a foundation. That's why I went to Hampton. I loved math and science. So I got my molecular biology degree my molecular biology degree. Thank you. But that was because my dad always told me in 20 years, an associate is not going to do anything for you, even as a mortician. And there were very few women that were like in the forefront of the funeral service industry when I was a kid. 2 in Dallas were Chandra Gerald Jennings and Sandra Clark. But outside of them, they weren't really in the forefront. So my dad was like, I know whatever you're going to do is going to be successful, but you have to kind of set a foundation. So when I was younger, I thought it was a passion, but it was something I wanted to do. And then as I started being afforded the opportunity to serve families, to see how I was able to transform their minds and their hearts and their spirits from not knowing anything to knowing about the decisions that they were making, I realized this is a gift of mine. And then when I became an entrepreneur, I'm like, this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And so it's a passion. So I have the gift for it, but every day my passion is what fuels me to strive for more and more success.
I can feel that passion because listen, you said there was only a few women in the industry. So not only did you have your foundation in your parents, but you also did the research. You listed those two people who was in there. So it's not just one thing about getting into something. You're passionate, but you also did the homework. You did your research. You went out and you grinded and got the information, and then you put one foot in front of the other.
That's right.
So for the Mansfield Funeral Home, what services do you provide currently?
So we provide, of course, the foundation of funeral services, memorial services, pre-need insurance. In addition to that, my mission is to educate the community about the funeral service industry. Though I've worked for several funeral homes around the Metroplex, I have consulted with funeral homes around the country that wanted somebody to come in to help them build their business back up. And the one thing that I've seen time and time again are families sitting at the table with the funeral directors, with myself, that absolutely have no idea what their options are. They don't even know the difference between different caskets. Why do they need an out of burial container? So when you couple that unknowing with grief, that is a prime opportunity to be taken advantage of. And so every time somebody walks into our building or we see somebody on the street and ask us questions, I envision that I'm talking to my own personal family members. And if I don't want them to be taken advantage of, I make sure that myself and my staff, we educate the community first. Now, if they choose not to come to Mansfield, that's fine, because the important thing is that they know better. But when they're taking the time to educate, they're like, you know what? You took the time when I didn't have a death. Let me give you the opportunity to serve me when it's an at-need situation.
Family, if you didn't catch that, let me just, that was powerful. Grief and unknowing what to pick for a funeral, that's the opportunity to be taken advantage of. And Miss Christie her and her team wants to make sure that they educate you in that process. Now, another question for you, because you deal with a lot of grief on a day-to-day basis, right? So you see a range of emotions. Now, I know you said earlier you start your day off with intention, but how do you stay calm in the storm and dealing with those emotions on a day-to-day basis and not bringing that business, transferring it to the household?
That's a great question, and it takes time and practice. Early on, 24 years ago, as a 19-year-old young woman, I was always sad. I really won't say I got into the depression side, but I was in the industry while I was in college. So I really didn't have anybody around me to really help me or to be able to identify what was going on, because we were all, young adults.
Yeah.
Then when I would come back home, my mom is a therapist. So when I would come back home, my mom would talk to me like, listen, you got to learn how to compartmentalize this. There's a difference between having empathy and sympathy and compassion. And my mom taught me the value of compassion. A compassionate person is somebody that can be there, listen, help you with something, but they don't take on the grief. They don't take on the responsibility of the emotions that you're emitting at that time. So that's, if I can say anything that my mom taught me that has helped me in this, she's taught me how to be a compassionate person. I can sit with a child that's lost their parents, or a spouse that's a woman that's lost their husband, or vice versa. I can talk with them. I can walk them through the process, but I don't put on that grief to where I'm walking into my home feeling
right.
some kind of way. If anything, it has taught me how to value my relationships with my husband and our child and my friends and my family. It causes me to hold on and to want to make sure that we're all good because life is fleeting.
Be a compassionate person. I don't have to take on that baggage from the next person. I can sit and listen, and I can still be in a mental state to guide you to where you're trying to go. Woo, family, this
And
is
still be
powerful.
true to yourself. And still, it's one thing to help somebody, but you never want to help somebody to the detriment of losing yourself or hurting yourself.
You
And
better
people
talk.
feel like if I don't physically see blood flowing from me, that I'm not hurt. The hurt is if you lose your joy or your happiness is dampened because of a conversation that you had with somebody, you're hurting yourself. So listen with ears of compassion, not empathy or sympathy.
Family. Family, I told y'all this was going to be some good information. Y'all going to have to watch this video over and over and over. I know I am. I know I am. This is good stuff, Christy.
Thanks.
What lessons have you learned over the last 24 years in the business space?
So many. I would say the importance of being true to myself, and knowing my strengths and my weaknesses. Very early, my parents taught me to be a very independent person, someone who can go out and find the answers to any questions that I may have. Well, I took that a step further to believe and to think that I didn't need to ask for help. I had to physically go out and get everything. And it was wearing me out. Right.
Oh,
So when I decided, about 12 years ago that I'm ready to open my own funeral home, I was going to the realtors and everything. And before that, I was looking for the space myself. And I'm raising a child, have a husband, all this, and I'm wearing myself thin. Finally, I was meditating, and God said to me, just ask for help. Picked up the phone, made a phone call, domino effect, and I bought Mansfield Funeral Home 5 years ago. So if anything, I have learned to listen to wise counsel. I've learned to discern between those who mean the best for me and those who are trying to just feed off of me, and the power of saying no. And no is a complete sentence.
come on now.
And and I tell people, listen, first of all, if you come to me with a request, let me pray about it. Praying about it means I can go down the hallway thinking about it and come back and say no, or it may take me a day or 2 days. But I no longer allow people to put me in a corner to have to make a decision about something that I am not fully ready to make a decision on. And then when I come back, I've set the intention that whatever decision that I've made is going to work out for myself, my staff, and my family.
Listen, family, if you don't do business with Miss Christy Moore and Mansfield Funeral Home, listen to her. She's passionate. She listens with the ears of compassion. She's going to take care of you. She's going to educate you. Now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? How has that impacted your business?
For the funeral service industry, it has impacted us in a positive way, because when the people in the community have passed, they have chosen Mansfield Funeral Home. And I say that very carefully because it may cause people to feel uncomfortable. But the business that I'm in deals with people who have lost their lives. So I actually have a group that I actually go out and teach people how to live better lives. I don't want you coming to me before it's your time. So I am not an advocate of death. I'm an advocate of life.
Yeah.
And when someone passes, my prayer is they choose my funeral home to celebrate their life.
That's
so
beautiful.
Back to your question, in the pandemic, it was an extremely trying time. We already, as a staff, we always prepared 10 steps ahead. And I'd been hearing through the grapevine for years. My mom felt it in her spirit January before we shut down. She was like, something is about to happen. So I'd already set up live stream. I'd already set up the ability to do arrangements over the computer. I didn't know why, but it was in my spirit to do so. So
Okay.
when we shut down, we were already ready. I'd
Wow.
already stepped up on everything. We were already ready. And the hardest part of the pandemic was dealing with families that, on top of the grief, they were mad at the fact that their loved one passed due to COVID, that they felt like their loved one was taken too soon. So that really put people in a very different headspace. It put my staff and myself in a different headspace because we were dealing with anger along with the grief. And
On top of the
usually,
grief.
usually we don't deal with anger on this side because
That's
it's
right.
kind of like a behind the scenes. People kind of try to mask that when they're taking care of business. But we had people in here really, really upset at the world and the country and God for quote unquote taking their loved ones too quickly. So I really had to put my staff through. We had massages, frequently. I had to make sure that we stayed grounded so that we could deal with the different type of, emotions that we were going through.
And that goes back to what you said earlier. You were saying that your dad had that make sure you had that foundation. And I think with you been in business for all these years, you've laid that foundation, so that goes back to when your team is kind of like, anger on top of grief. And then you're there just in the calm, in the midst of the storm. Hey guys, let's do this. Let's go get massages. Let's take mental breaks because we got to make sure that we're only not just taking care of the families. We got to take care of ourselves too.
Yes.
I don't see a lot of funeral homes in social media. How do you navigate that? Do you even do social media? Like how do you navigate social media in the funeral home business?
If I were to pinpoint one thing that made me nervous about owning a funeral home and putting myself out there, it was social media. I acquired Mansfield in 2016. I did not go into any type of marketing until 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I was so nervous about saying the wrong thing, putting out the wrong message, offending someone. I remember Valentine's Day 2017, I posted something on our Mansfield Facebook page that was very bare. And I said, Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. I was in the midst of posting another post about Happy Valentine's Day to those who have lost their loved ones. And I was going to post that second. As I was posting it, this lady sent me this long message saying how hurt she was. She lost her husband. I buried her husband. How dare you celebrate a day that makes her feel horrible? And so that made me retreat back into my shell. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to offend anyone. But that goes back to setting my intention. I had to begin to believe that whatever message that I put out, whatever my marketing team put out, my intention is to inspire. My intention is to show love, to show compassion, and to let families know that we're there for them. So when I took the fear away and I literally started to think and be mindful of my intention, and I gave my vision to my amazing marketing director, it literally started to take off. We've had hundreds of thousands of likes and views over, since 2018 on our posts and our lives and everything. So it's been amazing, but I had to change my thought process first before putting it out.
Wow. I mean, this is just so powerful because within that, you wanted to know you have to put your business out there, right? You have to market yourself. And when you did, you had this response and you went back. But then you went back to that foundation, you gathered yourself and you say, you know what, your intentions are pure, right? Your intentions are like trying to serve. And you're not responsible for someone else, how they interpret what you put out, knowing that your intentions are good. So I applaud you for doing that and taking a step back and reevaluating and moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. So listen, I got one more question for you. And again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. What advice would you give your 15-year-old self today?
15. And that's interesting because that's actually where I wouldn't mind starting back over, because that's kind of where I started to take a bit of a turn. I would tell myself, be still, listen to wise counsel, and save your money. I wouldn't change anything when it comes to my education, any of the different jobs. I was a mortuary professor here in Dallas. So a lot of I call them kids, but a lot of people that are in the industry that own funeral homes now in the Metroplex and around the country, I taught them. So I wouldn't change any of that, but I would definitely change focusing on myself and not putting others before me, and not taking so long to ask for help or to ask for advice. And definitely learning how to set my intention for what's best for me so that I can serve others.
Come on now. Woo! How can my people follow you? Give us your social media, Facebook, Instagram. Tell us how we can follow you.
Okay. So Facebook and Instagram is mansfieldfuneralhome.com. We're located in Mansfield, Texas, and our website is mansfieldfuneralhome.com. It's all about keeping things simple. People don't like to think too hard about how to find you. So everything is Mansfield Funeral Home.
And there you have it, family. Make sure you guys go and like her Facebook, follow her, get educated, right? Even if you're not in the city, call her funeral home, talk to them, get educated. And if you are in the area and you have a loved one that needs her services, please reach out to Miss Christy K. Moore. Christy, thank you so much. And we will be talking soon. I'm pretty sure I'll have you on the show because I know I'm going to get some questions for some people that I'm going to have to funnel to you. So thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation.
It's my honor. Thank you, Jarvis. God bless you and your family and your business as well.
Thank you. Same to you.